Okay, so trying to get this in between bands of a tropical storm here, so I may not be able to film much, but we're gonna start off with 30-30 and see what happens.
So I get the question all the time. What ratio do I need to run if I want to hit a certain pace in a race? And I know what you're asking, but I also want to tell you, you're asking the wrong question. You see, if you want to run a certain pace in a race, you've got to do the work to be fast enough to hit that pace and maintain it throughout the race. Now, if it's an aggressive pace for you, that means you're going to have to do some speed work. If you're slowing down because you want to pace a friend, then you need to do some training at that specific pace so that it feels natural and you can run that with your friend. But to worry about the ratio before you're able to run that pace is putting the cart before the horse.
Okay, 9:08 for the first mile. That was a 30-30. And I was struggling to get that 9:08 at 30-30, I will admit. Running through this walk break, because I'm switching to 60-30. Let's see what mile 2 does.
Hey, I totally get what you're really asking. What you really want to know is, what's the right ratio for me to use for the pace that I'm running? And that's great. As long as you know that the pace that you are running is within your ability, then there are lots of different ratios that you can use. So I wanted to demonstrate how I could use 5 different ratios to run the same pace over a 5-mile run.
All right, coming up on 2 miles. I've been doing 60-30 for this mile. Should hit that mile mark any second. 9:02 for that one. Gonna switch it up to 90-30 now.
For almost 50 years now, Jeff Galloway has been working on his method and figuring out just the right ratio to recommend for people based on the pace they're going to run. If you're doing Galloway e-coaching or a customized training plan, or if you're in a local Galloway training program, you'll be assigned a ratio to use based on the pace you're going to run for each type of run you're going to do. Now, if you're running in a group, you need to stay with that ratio. But if you're running on your own, like if you're being e-coached by Jeff, or if you're in a Galloway customized training plan with me, you have the flexibility and the responsibility to try different ratios to see what fits. We want you to start with the recommendation because that's going to work best for most people. But once you see how that feels, try running a little bit more before your walk breaks, or try running a little bit less between walk breaks, still keeping the same overall pace the same, and see how it feels.
Okay, Thunder, I just hit a mile mark. It says an 8:49. Definitely not my intention. Thunder sometimes does that to me, but I'm going to try to stay close to 9s, so my whole average of the run is 9s. Gonna do 2-minute run, 30-second walk for this next mile, and then I'll switch it up again for the last one.
Once you've tested out the different run-walk ratios that could possibly work for you at each pace, you'll know what feels right. For me, as I went through this process, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend you do 5 different ratios over a 5-mile run, but it was an interesting experiment. What I discovered was, in the early mile, and especially that first one, but also the second mile, I was having to work hard to run fast enough between walk breaks in order to average the pace that I wanted. It was a little bit of a struggle. I also found that at the end, I was running so much between walk breaks that I was having to bounce, not on purpose, but I was finding myself bouncing to take away some of the energy that would have been going into my forward progress so that I wouldn't go too fast. So when the walks come too often, you may have to run extra fast between the walk breaks. When the walks are too far apart, you may be slowing yourself down by creating a bad form situation in order not to go too fast overall. So if you find just the right ratio, You won't feel like you're rushing between walk breaks, but you also won't feel like you're holding back. When you found that, that's the magic that you want. That's the ratio for you to lock into for that pace. Now you have to figure out what that ratio is for your long run pace, for your tempo pace, and for your speed work. But you're not alone. We've got that chart so that you can figure that out. And of course, if you're doing Galloway Customized, I'm here to help you out, give you some advice, especially based on what I see from your heart rate and other data that you may be uploading to Final Search. Speaking of data that gets uploaded, I think it's really strange to take a look at the difference between what my Apple Watch was telling me as I was running and what Strava tells me now that I'm done. You'll notice that the Apple Watch paces show pretty much what I was telling you during the video, but in Strava, it shows that my first couple of miles were right on pace and that my third mile, which was fast according to my Apple Watch, was actually slow according to Strava. This is a good reason to pay attention to your overall pace or your average pace when you're running and not worry about one particular mile pace, and definitely don't worry about what the current pace is showing on your watch. As always, if there's anything I can do to help, you can reach me, Chris@jeffgalloway.com. Enjoy your running. Take care.